Do you find yourself being quite good at picking up other skills within the repair shop?
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no other place like it where me being like a metal worker would be working on a bench next door to somebody else that's restoring a painting or ceramics or things like that. You know, very, very, very different jobs, all in the same barn. Yeah. It's really special.
You can watch Dom and all the experts on the repair shop this Wednesday at 8 p.m. on BBC One and iPlayer and hear more about the hot towel machine. And, of course, you can catch up on previous episodes at 3:45 this week on BBC One as well. Pleasure, Dom. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another video. Thanks for joining us. We're back on the Porsche. 2 weeks in a row. God, it's Monday afternoon. So all morning I've been on Morning Live, then I had about 5 or 6 different radio interviews promoting the repair shop because there's a primetime series on this week or whenever it is. I've been talking about it all morning and I can't remember. There's a good few days for me to get some progress done, which is exciting. The giant box from Trevor's Hammerworks is down off the racking. We'll open that later in the video. That is very exciting. If ever we needed a bit of a morale boost on this freezing cold day, what's in that box? It's going to help. The left-hand side is pretty much buttoned up now after the success of last week's episode. So I've got the bump stop bracket to actually fit still, but that involves welding upside down, and I don't really feel like I'm in the mood for it. I just don't want to do it. It's freezing cold. I don't really want to lie on the floor and weld upside down today. So I'm going to move over to the other side and actually start dissecting the other side. This is the chassis leg. I'm hoping I can keep it. The more I look at it, there's rust here, there's rust here, there's a little hole there, there's rust in there, there's a bit of damage there, and then it's a bit scabby here. I'm really torn with this chassis leg. I don't want to just unnecessarily cut everything off and replace everything. I want to keep as much as I can. So I'm going to dissect and cut off all the other pieces that I don't need anymore, but the main chassis leg, if I can keep the original, which means keeping all of the original seams around it, I will be very pleased. The only way to know is to try and carefully remove all the bits I don't want and see what's left of the actual chassis leg. So let's start cutting. Let's see how these go. All of that is next. I need to get all of that out the way, but leave that little return on the end, because that matches that. It's literally snowing outside. It's freezing cold. It's hard to find enthusiasm to come into the cold workshop and put the freezing cold ear defenders on and pick up cold tools and metal. It's tough, but I'm determined to make some progress on this 356. I've just cut off the bulk of the material, and now I'm just left with a little tab that's spot welded on. I'm giving up with a spot weld drill, and I'm just resorting to grinding it back to its very, very thin, and then peeling it off like a sort of bean can, just peeling it back with some pliers. Seems to be working quite well. So I'm going to carry on doing that for the next few hours. I've sat and had my sandwich, staring at this rear chassis leg, and I've made a decision. And I'm going to act on it before I change my mind, because I keep dithering back and forwards. That yellow line, I think I'm going to cut there, because everything this side of it is all okay. That's nice and solid. The factory seams, it's all looking really good. But then as I get further down, there's a tear there. All of this is all stretched out of shape. The red line is a laser level, which I've just to make sure that those sort of slotted holes are all in line. They're all horizontal, which they are. Unfortunately, it's worse than it looks. It's just very thin. It's really distorted and bent, and it just, by the time I start grinding and working on that and trying to weld it and then grind it and sand it, there's going to be nothing left of it. And bearing in mind, this is the chassis leg. I'm going to chop it off. The yellow line is my cut line. I'm going to cut it off. Then I can use that as a template, take some measurements from that. My main concern really is the length of it, because it has to meet the sort of closing panel on the back. I'll cut that off and then take some measurements. Probably use the extreme plasma table to cut the piece out, and then use the folder to fold up the edges. I might drill the holes afterwards, because I can take a reference. That's not a bad idea. Well, we'll see how we go. Let's cut this off, get it on the bench, and start making a new one. All right, okay. That is our first right angle. So I think everything's going to come from here or down here. It's fine.
I know you'd leave me to die on the road. I know you'd leave me out here in the cold. I know you'd leave me with a load of nothing to my name. And if you had a second chance, you'd do it again. You say I'm weak when I'm being kind, ripping out pages, reading your mind. It takes two to tango, but I'm dancing on my own. Well, this loneliness, I was being alone. And the those plans you're making will hold no shine. I don't care what you're taking, I've already got what's mine.
With a few distractions here and there, mainly from this one. It's taken a while, but I'm really glad I did it. And I've spent a lot of time making sure everything is in the right place. Those 3 holes, it's very easy to just drill them in somewhere near the right place now. But when it comes to fitting all the tinware and the engine parts in, they won't line up. So now I've got it folded up, holes drilled and all looking good. All I need to do is weld it in place. And then that will be the other chassis leg, not done, but well on the way. After that's had a little grind down, a little sand down, it's looking good. I could spend some more time with the hammer and dolly, just getting it a bit flatter, but it's pretty good. It's very tempting when you're sitting staring at something like this to try and get every little bit absolutely perfect, and I want it to be just right. But the reality is, it's all going to be covered in tarboard and insulation and stuff anyway, and sound deadening, so it's a funny one. It's funny, it gets sort of really caught up on the little details. But it's looking good. My wrist is killing me. It's been the hammering is not helping it. But that panel is in, it's done, which is brilliant. And I've used the laser level, it all lines up nicely with the other side, it looks perfect. So tomorrow, I've got to go inboard a little bit more to the firewall, because there's a couple of bits to do in there. Hopefully, if I can get those done, that will be that corner pretty much there. Then we can open the box. Tomorrow, we'll open the box tomorrow. It's Wednesday morning now, first thing in the morning. It's going to be this right-hand rear corner of the firewall, which is next, because there's some rot there. There's an interesting kind of oval-shaped pressing, which is going to be interesting. So this is probably the last most difficult bit for the engine bay area. Once I get this corner figured out, which I'm going to do today, I'm going to try my best to today, then I can start working my way backwards with new pieces of steel, new pieces of metal, all the engine bay surrounds, all the sort of aperture pieces, the back panel, the closing panel. That should be much easier, but let's get this tricky bit done first. Good job, it's a new day, it's a fresh start, fresh eyes. Now at least I can get inside here, right inside there, and treat all of this rust that's been trapped in there. Unfortunately, I have got another hole here, so I'm going to have to cut another section out which goes inside the car. But again, at least with that out the way, I can get inside there. It's quite complicated, especially in this corner. There's so many. So the bottom panel meets this panel, which meets that panel, which has a return, and another little lip there, and another panel goes over the top of that. There's a lot going on in a corner, which is really hard to get the angle grinder in. Can't get any of the tools in there, but it's starting to make sense. I've got it's solid under here. This piece is all good, so I just need to make a new section there that comes around there, just build up the pieces and build it back up. Okay, I've tried to fire up this little mobile sandblaster that I've got. Basically, it's like a big canister. You fill it with sand, well, the grit, hook the airline up, and then there's a little nozzle like a gun, basically. I never have much luck with this. Maybe it's me, but every time I try and use it, I end up getting covered in the blasting media. It lasts for about 2 seconds, then it seems to clog up and stop and there's no pressure, or too much sand, not enough sand. It just seems to be a nightmare. I did try and blast inside this corner. I tried to get as much as I can. And to be fair, when it was working, it did a really good job. So I've got most of the worst rust out the way with the blaster. I've sprayed this rust converter. This rust converter is the one I used on my camper van with great success. It's got a picture of a rusty beetle on the front, so it must be perfect. I've put that in my spray gun and sprayed it up inside all the box sections that I can now get to, and inside that hole that doesn't actually come out inside the car. The plot thickens. That whole area, there's quite a large area there where it is actually a big sort of void, a big open kind of box section where you can't actually see inside. Because I cut that hole, I could then peer inside. I couldn't film, but I shine a light through and you could see inside, and it's amazing. It was honestly, the back side of the steel is all the factory steel, and it is like new. Tiny little bits here and there of surface rust, but very faint, like you'd get on a new sheet of steel now if you've left it around the workshop for a bit. It was amazing. Even though there wasn't that much rust in there, I've sprayed this rust converter everywhere inside from the back, and it's quite reassuring that it's now weeping out and seeping out of all of the seams on the front. That's going to get everywhere in there. Even the vapor, all the fumes and stuff inside there is going to get everywhere, get in all the seams, and hopefully kill any rust that is in there. Once the rust converter is dry, it's actually paintable. So I can go over it with Worth's Metalite. I need to learn how to say that. That's going to be pumped inside as well, so that whole internal box section will be nice and protected, so I can close it up, weld it up, and know that all inside there is protected, looking good. You know what? Whilst that rust converter and the paint and everything dries, let's open this box. Let's do it. It's been sitting up on that rack for months. I can't remember when I ordered this, a long time ago. It's from Trevor's Hammerworks over in the States. He makes repair panels, body panels for 356s, obviously. I'd never dealt with him before, never spoken to him before, and he was initially, from the emails that we've had back and forwards, he's been so helpful, really, really helpful. So I was like, cool, let's go ahead, let's order it, let's do it. Have a look what's inside. It's going to speed things up so much. Right. Another bump stop mount for the other side. Oh. Look at that. This is basically the entire engine bay. The back closing panel, all the little closing panels around the side, where all the tinware will fit up to, the little curved piece I've just cut off that right-hand corner, all the sort of perimeter, the kind of perimeter set of the engine bay, and the big panel, which is the rear closing panel. I'm so excited to get that on. I cannot wait to get that fitted. As soon as I get this corner fixed back up, all of these pieces just need lining up, fixing in position, and then spot welding together. I have every faith in Trevor's Hammerworks that they're all going to fit. They look beautiful. They're so nicely made, all made by hand. Fitting all of these pieces is going to include getting the engine lid down off the racking and the engine lid lock, like the actual latch plate. All of that's going to have to be bolted to this panel and fitted up. So there's a lot more work to do, but we've got a lot of the ingredients that we need. Very exciting. I've also got the bump stop for the bump stop bracket for the other side. We're looking good. I just need that rust converter to dry. It's doing well. I'm baking it on there. It's nice and hot. It's drying really nicely. It's all gone black, which is a really good sign. That shows that the rust has been converted and is now stable. Thank you so much again to Trevor's Hammerworks. It's not sponsored, I will say. I've bought all of these panels, but he has looked after me, and he has said that if anybody gets in touch with him, if you're in the UK or in the States and you've got a 356, get in touch with Trevor's Hammerworks, let him know that you've come from this video, and I'm sure he'll look after you. He's a lovely guy. Thank you very much, Trevor. Nice one. So that's the first section welded up. Now I can actually start the next piece, which is going to be the curved bit around where the bolt goes. build a little, that's one more little step there, then the actual final piece. There's 2 or 3 more bits to go. First one done, it's looking good. At least it's looking a bit more solid now. Okay, this piece starts flat. I put 2 folds in it, so it fits under there nicely. Shrinking this bottom edge, which you can see is now curving it. Now I need to stretch this edge. Today has been a tricky day, if I'm perfectly honest. Just stretched the outside edge, shrunk the inside edge. That created this little rainbow, like a curved piece. Basically, I just trimmed that down, spot welded it onto the body, welded the seam up to blend it in with the original piece, and it's now ready. And I've spent, honestly, at least an hour and a half, maybe, with these 2 new panels from Trevor's Hammerworks, clamping them to the side, measuring, looking at the original references, trying to get them back where they should go. And it's really hard to explain, but I was just looking at an empty corner. And the next piece I need to make is an important piece because it's only, it's flat with a little return, but it needs to tie in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It attaches to 5 other panels, basically. And it's inside in an internal corner. I know this is in the engine bay, covered in, you never even see it once it's on, but it's quite an important piece. I feel like it's an important piece to actually get right because it's the inside corner of the engine bay and it's tying everything together, and I need to make sure everything lines up. Having these 2 pieces clamped in place has really helped because I can actually see now, you can kind of picture the panel's going to go along there, a tab there folding underneath, and a tiny little tab there folding over that curve that just gets spot welded in there, a return there. You can sort of see now what it's going to look like. But unfortunately, that is going to have to wait until the next episode. I'm gutted. I'm so sorry I've not finished it, but I've run out of time. I'm waiting to hear from Honest John. Hopefully he can come up on Friday, fingers crossed, and we can actually get all of the pieces from Trevor's Hammerworks spot welded in place. It will honestly be really handy to have John's help because there's a lot of pieces that need lining up and double checking and measuring and lining up and everything else. So it'd be great to have John if you can. And that'll be a good episode. And hopefully that's going to be next week. Another Porsche episode. But I hope you've enjoyed this one. I know there's not massive progress, but bit by bit, we're chipping away. We're getting there. If we can get all of those panels on, the whole engine bay will be finished. What a day that'll be. I can't wait. Any feedback as ever, please leave me a comment. I do read them all. I reply to as many as I can. Make sure you've subscribed because it really helps. Until next time, take care. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.